Listen again, I'm at the Manistee Armory. Robert Carpenter, are you Executive Director?
Executive Director, yep.
I told you I like the easy questions and you go rambling on. What is going on with you and with the Armory?
Sure, so right now we're still in our renovation phase. So we have purchased the Armory. Our organization owns it outright as Armory Youth Project. And our goal is to create a teen center here in Manistee for all students throughout the entire county as well. And right now we're going through renovations. We're finishing those up. You might hear some of it in the background. They're putting in the fire suppression right now, actually, to get the entire building up to code and safe for students to be in.
Are that contractors doing that?
Yeah. So
those are all certified?
Yep. Yep. Okay. So they've gone through the big thing that they did first was the asbestos removal. All the lead removal was already done before we purchased the building. So both the lead and asbestos have been dealt with. Now what they're doing is basically bringing the different systems up to code in terms of the heating, electrical, and then also fire suppression. And then going through installing a couple of new bathrooms and just new showers for the students to be able to use. And then in addition to that, they're going to be going through putting in new carpeting, new paint on the walls. So the walls behind me will be a very different color soon. And
what do you have an opening goal?
So our goal is this June.
June? Mm-hmm. That's pretty ambitious,
yep.
I would say.
It's just dependent upon once we finish the work in here, the state just has to come in and do their final inspection and give us their stamp of approval. And as soon as that happens, the very next day our doors will be open. So we'll know as we get a little bit closer in terms of when that state inspection.
I think I read in the paper where you have a volunteer training.
Yep.
What does that mean? I don't even know what it means.
Sure. So basically what we're looking for are adult and student volunteers that will come in and help run programs, come in and help us be with students, to be chaperones, also to be able to come in and help with food services, help with cleaning, help with anything that we'd be doing event-wise, and then just to be present in the lives of students in this area. Our volunteers are extremely important to us. As we have more students coming in here, we're going to need more adults in here to provide a safe environment and also provide the resources necessary that kids can go and talk to someone, that kids can interact with adults, and then also be able to have that safe person they can go to. But the volunteer trainings are April 18th, so we just had one last night, had 15 people come to that one, which was great, and then we'll have another one May 11th and May 31st, and they're over at Kennedy Elementary School.
My wife and I are involved with the youth, the middle school and high school at First Baptist.
Nice.
We have a nice program Sunday nights, and we do projects like we did the Easter breakfast, and other churches are doing that. Are you going to have some way, maybe, I'm just guessing Sunday night, that various groups could come here for a big program?
That's something that we could look at as well. Right now our program is Monday through Friday, just based on our volunteer needs, and the other part of it is we don't want to then be in competition with either local churches or other organizations that have stuff going on at the same time. So our main programs will be Monday through Friday, but we'll have events on the weekends. But we are looking at collaborative events in terms of combining local churches to do an event here, combining local businesses to do an event here, as well as other social services and organizations that would want to come here and have a group effort, all focused around students. So that's our main goal, is providing that space specifically for students, as they said they don't have much to do in town.
Good Friday, I was at an event at the Free Methodist Church, First Methodist Church, and they had 7 pastors, I think, including you. Yep. So would this be like the group that you would pull from?
Yeah, so, and that's what we've really been trying to work hard on, is the fact of there's many different denominations, and we want to see collaboration working together, and beyond just church collaboration, we want to see other organizations coming in too, and working not just with churches, but churches, schools, and social services. And that's been the really exciting thing for us to see, is that collaboration across the board, not just from the faith community.
When I went to the Home Depot, not Home Depot, it was Home and Garden, something, at the Little River, they had sportsman groups, other kinds of groups, that bicycling, I think it had, and I think, boy, these are some pretty good sized groups, some of them.
Sure.
And are you going to be in contact with those people to say, hey?
Yep, and that's what we're looking for, is I'm not local here, so I don't know all the different groups that are out there, but if someone would like to be able to collaborate with us, I'll give you an example. We have Michigan Works. If you're familiar with them, they've talked about being able to come in here and do courses with the kids on how to write resumes, how to apply for jobs, and how to job interview. We've also been talking to the local schools about being able to partner with them with some of their after-school programs in terms of using the gym and sports usage. And then in addition to that, tutors as well, tying in with the local schools and teachers to have them come in and do some after-school tutoring here. So we're really excited for those possibilities. But then even in addition to that, partnering with local services like both Centra and Staircase Youth Services, where they're willing to come in and help out students that are in dire circumstances and be able to be that resource for them here in this place.
And I know you had a lot of this room has got something on the door. It's this what, 12 by 12 maybe? And you could have something going on here. It could be very critical, very crucial, and very maybe crisis intervention. But outside the door, they don't even know what's going on.
And that's kind of the goal, is we want to provide safe places even within our building. So if a student is having a difficult day, that they have a safe place to kind of retreat to, where they can kind of just vent, talk to an adult if they need to, and if need be, we can call local services to be able to have someone come in who's trained and professional to be able to talk with them.
We just got done with Easter week, and I was saying that Good Friday, you were participating in a service, and I wondered what got you involved in that particular service, and how does that relate, say, to your life and the Manistee Armory?
Sure. For me, one of my big passions is collaboration and people working together. The community that we moved from, it was a community that was a bunch of silos. It was a bunch of organizations that wouldn't really work cohesively together, and as a result, people weren't being served in the proper way. So my big vision, especially amongst churches, is to see that partnership, that yes, there are differences, but there's a lot of things that we can come together upon. And it was really exciting to hear about the community service and to be able to be a part of that, to be part of that team who, yes, we have our differences, but at certain points in time we recognize that there are bigger needs that we need to look at. And that honestly is the reason why we moved to this community, is we saw people saying, students matter. Students matter deeply to us, deeply enough that we're willing to put aside some of these other pieces so we can go and focus directly on them and take care of their needs first and foremost. And that's been really impressive.
Expression I use in working with kids, nobody cares, finish it if you can, nobody cares how much you know till they know how much you care. Are you familiar with that statement?
Yeah.
What's it mean?
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing is it's about building relationships first, and it's building that foundation with people, showing how much you care about them, and then as a result, then they'll talk to you about what you believe and what you might think. But I think that's the important thing, and being that we are a Christian organization, our focus, yes, we have the faith aspect, but our main focus is not to change students' minds or to tell them what they need to believe, but instead empower them to what truth is and give them the resources that they need, because ultimately my passion is to give students those resources so later in life, when we're not around and they're off at college or off at different circumstances in life, they're not looking back to us for all the answers, that we've empowered them and given them the tools necessary to find the answers in life.
Now, is there answers other than the internet?
Yes.
Go into that then. Tell me.
Yeah, so one of the things we really want to work on
What I'm saying is, let's say I'm a 15-year-old and I have a real problem with my parents they're just the meanest people in the world, of course, and they don't understand. How do I get some perspective as a 15-year-old, as a 14-year-old, as a 17-year-old?
Sure. So that's one of the things that we're going to have here. Actually, in this room is going to be a resource room. There'll be a lot of different self-help books, a lot of resources that we've vetted and make sure that are correct and upstanding for the students to be able to use. And in addition to that, we're actually going to have a box in here where students can write down a question of any sort, put it in a box, and we'll put the answer up online and then also on a whiteboard right here for them. Because a lot of times students might not want to ask an adult a very intimate or personal question. They might be afraid of, well, what are they going to think of me if they know I'm dealing with this? Or what kind of stigma is going to be added to me if my friends hear me say this?
Sure.
So instead, giving them that opportunity to find a safe place to ask those questions and to find appropriate answers.
Well, when I grew up, I realized that I didn't like to ask people questions, nor did others. But then I'd start asking questions, and I found out none of the students know the answer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why you're going to other idiots to try to get an answer when you really have to have a resource like maybe an adult?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key thing, is we want to be able to provide that place and also build the trust with the students that they know they can come here for, hey, this is going on in life, what do I do with this? Mm-hmm. And be able to empower them to find those answers and to really dig through some of these things in their life.
Yeah, because if you're a teenager, you got your girlfriend pregnant, or your girl you got pregnant and you're single, mm-hmm. That's not a new problem. Mm-hmm. That's been around for centuries.
Right, and what we want to do is we want those students to know that if the worst should happen in life, that they're still welcome here and that we will love them and care through them with the situation. And that's what we really want to do, is create that safe place for them.
You sound like you're pretty passionate about it.
Yeah.
Now, who's your parent organization?
So we are our own organization. This was started up out of Faith Covenant Church. They saw the need in the community, but now it has expanded into a collaboration. So we're our own nonprofit organization right here in Manistee.
And so nonprofit, you still got it. That means you don't sell anything, I guess.
Right.
So where do you get your funding then? Where does that come from?
So part of that, we're going to be looking into potential rentals. That will be one piece. Another part is we're looking into different types of grant funding. Our main source of funding at this point is actually private donors. Actually, just a few minutes ago, we just received laptops for our tutoring program that a local donor had made.
You put them right here.
Yep. So a local generous donor donated 10 laptops to our tutoring program. He saw a need and he said, "What can I do to help?" So it's donors like that are really being able to make things happen here. Some of the things that we're looking to do is being able to feed students on a regular basis. A lot of students in our county go home hungry and they don't have food at home. So this summer we're working with the high school to do their food program. So every student that comes in will get a free breakfast and lunch. But then as we move into the fall, we're looking to have a fully developed kitchen. At this point, there's not the equipment in there, so we're looking to get that funded and get that up and going by this fall. So once students come in, they'll be able to have a meal at night. So we can provide that nourishment to them so that they can exceed in their academics as well as just life.
But at this point, it sounds like you don't, at least you haven't discussed staying here overnight.
Right, no. So at this point what we're doing is we're partnering with Staircase Youth Services. So if we have a student who is in a homeless situation, we're going to get them connected with Staircase Youth Services to get them the resources that they need as well as the lodging that they would need.
Oh, okay, so you're working together.
Right, and that's our ultimate goal, is we don't want to try to recreate the wheel in every single youth service that's out there. We want to partner with ones that already exist to be able to then provide the best possible resources for these students.
What's your possible population of, first of all, what is a student that you're dealing with? And then what is your population in Manistee County?
Sure. So what we're looking at is students grades 6 through 12. In terms of the actual number of students, I don't know that number off the top of my head. I know that we have quite a few, obviously, from here in Manistee. But then in terms of out county, we're expanding all throughout Manistee County, as well as even Scottville. There's some students that came here during the open house and wanted to come, and they asked if they could, and we said, "You're more than welcome."
I think historically, Manistee High School has had 200 or 225 a year. Would that be about right?
That sounds about right.
So high school would be 1,000. Mm-hmm. Take middle school, there's another 500.
Right.
Catholic Central, I think they run 25 to 40 a year. So there's some more people.
Right.
Not to mention then you get to Brethren, Caliva, Scottville, if they start coming, Custer.
And up at Onekama. Yeah.
You know, it's and if you have end up having dances and stuff, you're going to have a lot of people if you get.
And that's what we're excited for. That is a good problem to have.
You know, because you can go to a basketball game and meet girls from the other side, and you go, yeah, I like her, but what do you? But you have someplace like this, and you know, it's
right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. One of the issues that I have been concerned about, not enough to call anybody, I rent, so my taxes are in my rent. How much is this place going to cost me? I mean, is there like a mill or a tenth of a mill?
So we don't receive any funding from city or county or state.
So no tax money goes into that?
Correct, yeah. So there's no tax funding that then goes into this organization. Our funding, like I said, mostly right now is by donor base. So we've had some very generous donors that have helped get things up off the ground. And Faith Covenant has been great in terms of making a significant amount of contributions to be able to get the main aspects of this off the ground. But as we move forward, we're looking to more sustainable funding, like I said, through renting possibly, as well as different rentals in terms of maybe for a wedding or for different pieces like that. But what we're looking to do down the road is have more grants, but we are very heavily reliant upon our local donors. So
one of the big issues during that big assembly thing we had a year ago was the floor. It's oak or something like that, beautiful floor. What's going to happen to that floor?
In terms of the gym floor?
Yeah.
We're keeping it a gym, so
So it's going to stay. The floor is going to stay. Okay.
Yep. So the whole gym, that'll all be open gym. Students will be in there doing volleyball, dodgeball, basketball. They'll have all sports programs in there after school.
It's going to be a wooden floor.
It's wooden floor. Yep.
Yeah, I like a wooden floor because when you fall on a wooden floor, it feels different than falling on the sidewalk.
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, but students can come in after school, so they can be in there having open gym time. And then we'll also have structured programming where we might have a basketball clinic, a volleyball clinic, different pieces like that. But then also when students come in up on the stage area, which I'll show you in a little bit, that is going to be a cafe during our regular program hours. So students come in, get some food, get a coffee, whatever they'd want, sit up on the stage. They can do homework if they'd like to. They can hang out with friends. They can just sit there and read a book, whatever they'd like to do up there on that space, and then go down and play in the gym if they want to. But then in addition to that, we'll have the ability to take everything off the stage and be able to use that for any concerts or any venues that we bring in.
Are you gonna? I noticed that when I used to come here, you would have group bands up on the stage, but there's a big wall there now. Is that wall going to come out?
That wall is actually already gone.
Gone.
So,
okay. Okay.
Yep. So there's no wall there. It's a complete open stage at this point.
Because I think I was telling you some time ago that we used to have wrestling here. I don't know if it was Texas wrestling, but I can remember some of these guys. This was a long time ago. It had to be before my daughter was born. She was 40, so they had these monstrous guys come in. They just beat the tar out of each other.
Sure.
And you get to talking to them, and they're the nicest guys.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
gentlest guys you get talking to, but they get in their room, you know. And I'm just mentioning like Dick the Bruiser and things like this, and
Sure.
people who are my age. Oh, I remember Dick the Bruiser and Bubba Brazil. These are names that you probably have never heard of.
I haven't. No.
Bubba Brazil, and then there was something. The Sheik.
Huh.
The Sheik was supposed to be an Arab. He kind of disrespected the flag. Everybody hated him. Guys from New Jersey.
Yeah, that's kind of our goal, is to basically have big events in here once in a while to be able to get students in. But then during earlier times, what students have ultimately conveyed to us is that there's not a lot of places to go specifically for them. So their biggest concern was, we just want a place to hang out, a place where we can come in, where yes, there'll be adults around to make sure that there's no bullying and no inappropriate stuff going on, but at the same time just to hang out with their friends.
But so, would that include dancing? I know kids like to dance. So.
Yep, that's one of the things that we're looking into.
Either a DJ or a band.
Yep, or a student band. So,
yeah, of course.
In addition to that, some of the students have mentioned that they really want to do some recording and music recording. So in one of the rooms, we're going to be able to set up some recording software along with the materials needed to do that, so they can come in after school and do some recording of music. And then in addition to that, doing some art programs with the students, doing tutoring, doing community gardens outside so the kids can grow their own food and then bring it in. We'll work with MSU Extension to do a healthy cooking program. They'll teach the kids how to do some basic cooking, have those skills, but then in addition do some canning. So we want to give those life skills. And then in addition to that, a local auto shop, they've agreed to be able to come in here and do some auto classes with the students. How to change your brakes, how to change your tires, change your oil. So we're really looking for just a lot of various ways for students to really enhance some of their abilities now and give them some great opportunities.
Seems to me that many years ago, 30, in the high school, and now it's the Kennedy, they had an auto class of some kind, because it was over on the north side. They moved over
by
on
the
north
bus
side.
garage.
Yeah, and if you got to know somebody, you needed brakes, supposedly, you go in and talk to them, and they say, well, go down to the store and get your brakes, your brake pads and stuff, and bring them in, and I think that's how it worked, because they needed things to work on.
Yep.
You know, you can only do your own brakes like once every 2-3 years, and all of a sudden you got ability to do 10 sets a day.
Right.
Well, you need somebody to bring the car in.
So that's one of the.
So you could be doing something like that then.
Yep. So we're excited for just the opportunities that kids are going to be able to get involved with, and the thing is like, I'm not an expert at all of those things, so the beneficial part of having all these collaborations is we're bringing in the experts to run these programs with the students, and that's the really exciting part, that they're going to be good, high quality, well done, well prepared programs.
Well, I would think so. What I'm going to suggest, and we discussed it, I'm going to come back in a month or so. And we're gonna get out of this office, because by then it'll be painted, right? It'll be a new color.
Yep.
So, and we're gonna be talking about where you're going, what you're looking for, and how it's coming. So what do you want to say in a wrap up here?
Yes, the biggest thing is if you're interested in volunteering, we are getting geared up before we open with volunteers. We want to have them all trained. And if you're interested in making donations as well, please let us know. We really appreciate the donors that have really helped us out, and we are still looking for further donations towards our kitchen, as well as different equipment that we're going to need to get us up and going for this summer. But you can go online at armoryyouthproject.com, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then also email me at director@armoryyouthproject.com.
armoryyouthproject.com. That sounds pretty simple.
Yep.
Unless you can't spell youth.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Leaving the Manistee Armory. So these two others. Hope they don't need that until about November. Well, I had a good visit here. I'll be back. Well, it's Friday about 1 o'clock. Downtown at Maple and River. According to the city manager, they're going to be paving Tuesday. That might be the last of the gravel they just jumped. called a Deere 35G backhoe. This will be called a Deere 135G backhoe. Both have a shovel and a blade. Shovel and a blade, but it's a lot smaller. This work is so easy for these guys, but wait 30 years when they're in a nursing home and so overfeed themselves. But even if they had a job, those jobs could be the same thing.
John is what we call a cop's cop. I mean, a prosecutor. He likes to go to work for us. He makes us do the work, but he's out there to get convictions. And one of our topics that came up here in the last couple months was elder abuse. Some of the signs, some of the perpetrators, so what to look for, who's going to be doing that, who would ever do that to the elder. So I know that John's part of a team that works with domestic assaults and sexual assaults, and they meet, I'm not sure how often. Every month. Every month. But he is a wealth of knowledge on the topic. So I asked him to kind of come speak about it today, and then if you folks have any questions during this little presentation, please feel free to ask. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John HAUSWIRTH.
Perfect. Thank you, John.
Like John said, I've been the Chief Assistant Prosecutor for a couple of months. I've been the Assistant Prosecutor here for about 4.5 years. And so I've seen a lot of what goes on in the community, especially since we founded the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Team, as John just referenced there. We see a lot more of people saying, hey, this is happening in my home, or I have a friend who this might be happening to, what do I do? And what I'm talking about, there's two kinds of things that I see with our seniors that it seems to be that you're more susceptible to as far as crime in the community. And one is physical abuse, and the other is financial abuse. And I'm going to talk about both of those today. And at any time, you know, I'm a very informal person, despite the fact that I'm a lawyer. Please don't hold that against me, by the way. But if at any time you have any questions about things, please just speak up and we can go through and just have a conversation here. So, but when in regards to physical abuse, most often when we see this in the senior community, it's actually done by a caregiver. And by a caregiver, I mean could be a grandchild, could be someone who's hired as a home health aide, could be someone who is a friend of a family member that comes over to visit that may take care of you, and then you bring a friend with you. So what to look for in that, most often what we see is neglect. And that's a little bit different than, let's say, for instance, an affirmative assault. So if I could borrow John here for a moment, use him as a bit of a test dummy. When people think of, not that much, trust me, but when people think of physical abuse, most of the time they're thinking of somebody trying to hit you or break something, or like, that's not ordinarily what I see as a prosecutor. What I see most is neglect. And that is somebody who's supposed to be taking care of you, but allows you to not be taken care of. For instance, won't feed you, or won't bring you water when you need water, or won't help you change the bedding, won't help you bathe if you need help bathing. That's the kind of physical abuse that I most often see. That doesn't mean that the assaultive stuff doesn't ever happen, but most often it's neglect. And when if you suspect that someone you know or love, or is a friend of yours perhaps, or an acquaintance, is experiencing that kind of neglect, you need to call these guys. Absolutely call the guys with the badges and the guns, and they're going to be able to look into that. And if that type of stuff is happening, most often it's actually felonious in nature, which means it's so serious that it wouldn't just be a misdemeanor. Everybody know what the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony is? Or is it? Nobody. Thank God I haven't prosecuted any of you then. Great. I knew none of you looked familiar for that reason. So, but the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony, a misdemeanor is taken care of usually by like a term of probation. Your examples would be, you know, a drunk driving. A first offense drunk driving is a misdemeanor. Or possession of marijuana, which is a fairly low-level narcotic. Those would be misdemeanors. Felonies are your more serious crimes, like assault with intent to harm, or larceny of a great number of dollars, over $1,000, robbery, that type of thing. Well, most often, by the time these folks get a report that someone in the senior community is being neglected, the damage is so great that it rises to the level of a felony. And so it's a very important aspect of crime in the community that needs to be addressed. And unfortunately, it's you folks who need to address it. You have to report. And so if you suspect something, I know that this goes back to like the terrorist warnings back in '01 after 9/11, but if you suspect something like that is going on, either in your household or in a friend's household or a family member's household, please report it. Say something about that. If it's nothing, then there's no harm, no foul. We can just, you know, close the books on that as an unsubstantiated investigation. But if there is something going on, I personally, and I know John at the Sheriff's Department, we really want to make certain that folks like that don't get the opportunity to do it again. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to prosecute those cases and hopefully get convictions as well. Okay? So that's physical abuse. Anybody have any questions on how to deal with neglect or physical abuse, things of that nature? Great, I'm so good, everybody knows everything. See?
How do you deal with, say, that you're reporting something, and the person that is doing this, you know, then they're going to look at you and say, whoa.
Right, how do you get the report out there without the person who's perpetrating it, you know, coming at you for retribution?
Yes.
And that is a very good question. And again, usually you can have one person, most people I find this, have one person they can really trust in their life. Whether it's a spouse, a child, a dear friend, someone that they worked with for a long time. What I would recommend in that situation, if you're worried about retribution from the person who's abusing you, is to get with that person and say, hey, this is happening to me, I need your help, and have them coordinate a way to get the police involved. And then maybe get you out of that situation or prevent your abuser from coming back into your house. These types of things have to move very fast in those situations where you're worried about an abuser. So the quicker that you speak to that person and develop a plan to keep you safe is the better it's going to be. And unfortunately, I can't tell you, this is what you do in any given situation. Every situation is going to be just that much different that you're going to have to adapt. But find that one person that you can really count on and get their assistance in getting that report and keeping you safe. It's a very good question. Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
I go to court quite a bit, and I see people plead to something and they get probation.
Yes.
How many times do they have to go on probation? You can't use narcotics, you can't use alcohol, you can't do this. Obviously, they're probably going to be doing it. How many times do they have to do that before the judge says, okay, I'm not getting through to you, 30 days in the slammer?
Right. And that is a case-by-case basis. I share some of your frustration there. I've had cases where I thought that the sentence should be different than what I got, but that's not up to me. It's going to be up to the judge. I would love to give you a number. Hey, third strike, you're out. That's not been my experience. It could be the first strike. It could be the fifth strike. And so, unfortunately, I can't give you a better...
But can you assure us that if the person keeps doing it, they're going to go to jail?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. Repeat offenders, not only what you're discussing is a probation violation.
Right.
Usually, on a probation violation, it's not a new crime that's committed. So, for instance, if someone's put on probation for operating while intoxicated, okay, they're driving drunk, usually they would have a probation condition that says they cannot drink alcohol. Well, a lot of the times on a probation violation in that instance, they'd come in because a police officer found out they were drinking, say they had 1 or 2 beers. It wouldn't be a crime if they weren't on probation, but because they are, they come in for a probation violation. If they got drunk and drove again, that's a new crime with a much stiffer penalty, and then the prosecutor's office would file a new criminal charge. And so you're much more likely to get jail time on a new criminal offense rather than just a technical probation violation. Okay. And I will tell you this, even though, John and myself or other folks may have been frustrated at times with sentences that were given by the judge, assaultive crimes are always taken more seriously by the court system. That's something that no judge is allowed to go forever. Okay, so I would caution you to say you're not guaranteed a stiff penalty, but you are guaranteed that I'll fight for you for a stiff penalty, that the police will give you as much support as they possibly can, and we'll be able to tell the judge that a stiff penalty is needed. And then repeat offenders will most likely face jail time, if not prison time, depending on how serious the offense is. Okay. Any other questions regarding physical abuse? Now, I did just close a case. Well, it's not completely closed, but I did get a plea today on financial abuse. And this one is much more common than the physical abuse that I've seen in the community. And by financial abuse, I mean this. How many of you have a power of attorney? Okay, so I got one person at least will admit they have a power of attorney. I used to write them when I was in private practice all the time for folks like yourself because it's very convenient. If you have to go in the hospital or something, somebody can take care of your finances. They can speak for you to doctors, things of that nature. So it's not a bad thing to have. However, there are people out there that will take advantage of a power of attorney. And so by that I mean they will empty your bank account, or they will write checks in your name, or they will initiate lines of credit without your knowledge in your name, take a big chunk of money, and then you're stuck with the loan payment. Okay? Ordinarily, and I hate to say this, that's family members that do that. And that what they're counting on is for you not taking, offense at that and not reporting it to the police. It's a crime. It's larceny. It's fraud. It's very serious consequences, and unfortunately it happens all too often. My advice to the people that I gave powers of attorney to when I was in private practice was, always make certain that the person that you have a power of attorney for, who you're giving that power over you, is someone you absolutely can trust. And if you don't have somebody you can absolutely trust with your finances, there's nothing in the law that prevents you from having two that must agree before they can do something. Now that's a little bit more cumbersome. You don't have the freedom of having one power of attorney there, so it's a little more cumbersome. But it does guard against the fraud that you can see from powers of attorney. We've probably covered other forms of financial abuse in the past, I imagine. The scams on phones.
Yeah, we talked about that in the previous.
Okay. So I won't even bother hitting that, but I'll hit the real financial stuff from the power of attorney aspect, and also home health care people. The case that I closed today was a certified nurse's assistant who was in the home helping this lady who needed help, and she was writing checks in the woman's name. And it went on for months before it was caught, to the tune of something like $5,000 that was lost. Until, now that person is now a felon, and they're going to face felony sanctions, you know, possible prison time, jail time, extended terms of probation, things of that nature. But that woman is still out $5,000. And so my biggest point today, if you remember nothing else of what I say today, remember this: keep an eye on your accounts. Absolutely keep an eye on your accounts. Balance your checkbooks. Make sure that you don't have any type of account open that you don't realize. And get rid of your credit cards that you're not using anymore. I went through my wallet the other day, and I've got 2 credit cards that I haven't used in 3 years, but the line of credit is still open. That is a huge data mine for identity theft. And when I say get rid of your cards, don't just cut them up. That's good, cutting them up. But call the credit card company and close the account. Absolutely close it out so nobody can take advantage of it. So, I've seen that 3, maybe 4 times in the past year where old credit cards were used for seniors to develop lines of credit. So call the accounts, cut them up, make sure your bank accounts are taken care of, add up your checking account, make sure you're balanced every month. It doesn't take much, and honestly, I didn't think that it was possible, but it really does not take much to have your life savings drained, and you're not going to notice it for a long time. It's rampant out there right now. That's what I have for my official spiel. Yes, ma'am?
You may not be able to answer this, but I was under the impression that if you cancel credit cards like that, it affected your credit. And I know it does.
It depends on what you're talking about. Affected your credit negatively, you mean?
Yes.
It is possible. I would encourage you to look at your credit score. Go to freecreditreport.com. You can get one a year, I think. Look at your credit score. Talk to the people at Experian and TransUnion. They'd be more than happy to talk to you. They talk to me all the time. It's actually very annoying. They call me once or twice a week, but that's for a totally different reason. But talk to them about how that would affect your score, and if it will affect it negatively to the point that you don't want to do that, then talk to a private attorney to see what you can do about those. Safeguard. There are other pay-for services that will help protect you from identity theft. LifeLock is a popular one that you may have heard of. There's other services out there that will give you alerts as to whether or not your credit cards are being accessed or your accounts are being accessed in an unusual manner, but they cost money. And so that's something that you're going to have to weigh, whether or not the risk is worth the reward on those things. I have LifeLock myself because it's fairly inexpensive, and I've got a lot of loans, student loans, car loans, mortgage, things like that. So. But good question. There is a possibility that it will affect your credit, shutting down a bunch of credit cards at once. My experience is if you do one in a couple of months and then one another couple of months, you're probably going to be fine. But good point. Don't do them all at once. Yes, sir.
John Carter. Just saw your sign on my way down the street and stopped in. There's another avenue for you. I'm one of the people around. I've spoken with groups at Senior Center a couple of different times. Public guardianships, also private guardianships, conservatorships that are run through the probate court in Manistee County. I do a series of things in the courts with conservatorship, which is the handling of the finances, guardianships. I also work with the disabled veterans and Social Security, a couple other groups for people that are having difficulties managing their affairs. I'm probably the only person in Manistee County that does do this to make a living. I retired successfully a number of years ago, live off that. The services that I provide for the most part are a public service. And I work with Judge Brenner most of the time with some of these things. I'm kind of weeding out of the business. The other ladies that I know that are in the business all are in it to make money, but they're finding resources also. One of the services that I offer, if any senior citizen has a question about some of the things that you've been hearing here, I'm more than happy to visit with you. I visit with people here at my church or in their homes. I know I'm not particular on that. I charge nothing for that service. I do have some people that very generously give me some finances to cover my expenses, which is appreciated, but I don't necessarily expect it. And I'd be happy to visit with you at any time concerning any of these matters. Now I'm raised my hand for the power of attorney. I've had a number of them over the years, and I agree. Prosecutor, they're a very dangerous element. I've worked with 2 people through the course who have lost in excess of $40,000, $50,000 to power of attorney. The reason I was appointed is because somebody found out this was happening. And I go about the investigations that I do. I'm not licensed. I talk a lot, so I'll be quiet. But I do offer that to anyone who would like to call me. They have my number here. And once in a while I show up here. And I am the senior citizen.
And John, I wonder if you can make a comment. Just over the years, we've seen some complaints that come in where the person that has dementia. So that perpetrator knows that that person is not always all together. I don't know if you've seen any cases, many. But that's very concerning to us because we have to prove the case. So on one minute I'm talking to you and everything's on the up and up, and the next minute you are protecting that perpetrator. You are telling us nothing's happening. Makes cases really, really difficult.
It does make very difficult cases to prosecute. And things have gotten better with some of the evidence that we can collect now through actually forensic accounting. Anybody ever heard of such an animal as a forensic accountant? They're the people that will actually dive in your bank records, your credit history, all sorts, anything you've ever done financially, and track where that came from. It's like going down a rabbit hole with some of these folks. They're magicians with numbers. I don't really understand it, to tell you the truth. But that's the kind of person we rely upon then when we have unreliable, and I hate to use that word, but you know, for those folks with dementia, you know, you can be an unreliable witness on the stand. So when that case happens, we have to go to other evidence. Now, we don't always have that other evidence. And so that makes those cases extremely difficult to prosecute. In that case, almost without fail, if we don't have a family member or a friend who does not have dementia and has witnessed some of these things, they almost without fail are unsuccessful prosecutions. And so that makes it extremely difficult. So you've got to keep your friends who have dementia or have other issues mentally, you really have to keep an eye on them to make certain they're not being taken advantage of.
But don't let that stop you from reporting something.
Right.
Do not, because we will still do the investigation. We will take everything to him that we have. He will give us stuff, go back and do this, this, and this, and we will try to find a means to an end with it.
And even if we don't get a successful prosecution in that instance, it's kind of like throwing a gauze pad on a bleeding wound. We may not be able to put everything back the way it was, but we'll be able to stop the bleeding in that instance. You know, because now that person who's taking advantage of them, they know they're under the microscope, they know they're being watched, and they'll probably move on to somebody either that they can get money from or stop altogether, or make a mistake that we'll see and be able to prosecute from that point. And so it's very important to report it, even if the likelihood of a successful prosecution is low. I do want to make one comment on the conservatorship and a guardianship. Generally speaking, I would consult with a private attorney before you decide whether to go on that. I mean, not to, you know, say that it's not a good idea, But it's always a very personal idea, and everyone's circumstances are so different that you're going to want to consult with a private attorney before you enter into one of those, either one of those, conservatorship or guardianship.
Which is, by the way, what I always recommend.
I would expect so.
I don't take that responsibility.
I was looking at some different statistics just to kind of get an idea. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, but everywhere I've read 2 or 3 different places, your chances of this happening to you, 1 in 10.
That's accurate.
That people age 60 and over will be either taken advantage of, some type of physical abuse, emotional abuse, something. Now, you think about that, 1 out of 10. That's pretty close to home. So it's good to educate you, to ask questions. I would rather have you call and have it be nothing. I'd rather err on the side of caution than have you be taken advantage of by someone who's, I mean, look at these people out there in this world that we have. I mean, this is what they do. They try to connive, steal, lie, cheat their way to success. We just don't want you to be a victim.
Absolutely. And the case I had today was actually a low number. It was only like $5,000 or $6,000. Only $5,000 or $6,000. I have seen cases where there's been embezzlement from seniors such as yourself, $105,000. I don't know about you, but I don't have $100 grand that I can blow on somebody stealing from me. And even though there may be a successful prosecution and that person goes to prison and they're ordered to repay that, it's one thing to get a judgment that they owe you that money. It's an entirely different thing to get it collected. You know, because you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. And if they're in prison, which is my goal, is to put them in prison for a time for that type of behavior, they're not making any money to pay you back. And so it's something, prevention, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That saying was true 100 years ago and is true today. So watch each other, help each other, look out for the signs of these types of things, and report it whenever you come across them.
Anybody, any other questions? I know he has it's a Monday, it's a court docket day, and he's a pretty busy guy, so I really want to thank him for coming and spending a few minutes with us.
Yeah.
Okay, if I ever get convicted of something, does it do any good to cry in front of the judge? That, I mean, I'm sorry, Your Honor, just bawl your head up. Does that help, or is that?
That all depends on the judge. It really does.
Case by case again, right?
Yeah, the classic lawyer response. It depends. It depends on the judge, depends on the person, and it depends on how many tears fall.
What would you suggest?
I would suggest don't commit any crimes and you won't find yourself in front of a judge. That's what I suggest.
Okay.
No other questions for Mr. Hauswirth? Anything else?
Yes, sir.
How did you choose between becoming a prosecuting attorney rather than a defendant?
Actually, I was a defense attorney when I was in private practice when I first graduated law school for a little while. I never had that as a goal. I didn't like it, and so I moved over to the prosecution side where I've been happy ever since.
Do you ever, there's another question, do you ever use what they do on TV, like that program Bull, where they have a mock jury that they try to figure out how to figure out
unfortunately, I don't have the resources in Manistee County to have a mock jury, so I usually go with the real thing on the fly.
Yes.
Good question, though.
Anything else? If not, I'd like to thank John for coming in again. Short and sweet to the point. It's important information. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care, folks.
Bye.
Okay. See, again, very informative. Just some things to kind of make you aware. Just so if you know of anybody or think or even something just doesn't seem right, give us a call. Let us look into it. We can do it with delicate gloves. You know, we don't want to be pointing that finger at someone who's totally innocent. So we have ways of investigating and doing things too without them even knowing we're doing it. So, anything else? If not, I know it's like 70 degrees out and gorgeous, and you all want to get out and not listen to me talk all day. Sir?
A couple of weeks ago, I called the department. I received a phone call that was a little different than norm. I didn't talk to the people, but I recorded on my machine.
Okay.
And they wanted to let me know that I was recipient of $9,000. I never heard of this scheme before, and it came from a Manistee phone. And that's one of the reasons I called the department.
Okay.
The phone number showed up in my answering machine. I gave them that number, but I haven't heard anything. You aware of anything?
I'm not. We get so many that come in almost daily. and they're all pretty much the same. So having a local number is a little different, but did you try calling that number back? Our officer will. There was actually something, I don't know, it was on the news, I know it was on Facebook, I don't know how many people watch Facebook, but it showed a police officer actually having some fun with one of these people. And he got on the phone and it went on for a half hour. This guy wanted him to turn his money over, and the police officer asked all the right questions just to make. Long story short, in the end, the guy got totally frustrated and said that the police are coming to get you. And he said, well, I'm already at the police station. That's how the call ended. And of course, nothing ever came of that. But a lot of those, again, are so hard to prove because they're overseas. They're somewhere where we can't just go get them. And even with a phone number.
Well, the phone number I was supposed to call was the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Where it was placed.
Okay. Even with phone numbers, it's so hard without, even if you get a search warrant to get phone records, if we don't call and preserve a number, right away when it happens, you have up to, like today, if something just happened today and you called me, my detective will call and preserve phone records, and it'll go back like up to 10 days. But if you don't do that in the first 6, 8, 10 hours, you could lose text messaging, you could lose things that you would normally get. So that just makes it that much more difficult. As long as we can preserve, we can go back and look. Or if a phone is tapped or something, because some phone companies, if you're having trouble, they will take and tap the line, and then we can go back and look at that line and see where it's coming from. 9 times out of 10, it's not from around here. So again, it's out of country. This prosecutor would tell you, we can't prosecute when they're not in this country.
Just a little side on that, if I may.
Sure.
I'm fairly close friends with the former prosecutor, Ford Stone.
Okay.
His father, Dr. Ford Stone, he's deceased, my youngest daughter's godfather. And I hunted and fished with him for eons. And I've talked many a time about this issue with Prosecutor Stone. The number of people I've worked with over the years, I've been doing this for 22 years now, that get scammed one way or another. And that's the answer I've always gotten, is that as soon as one of these people calls you, that phone may be discarded and another one used.
Absolutely.
Often from Jamaica.
Yeah.
That was the first one I'd seen from the United Kingdom. But again, the interesting thing was that the first number was a Manistee number. I never ever seen.
And that was the sheriff's office that handled it? I'd be curious to see, because I don't see every single one that comes in, but I'd like to kind of know what our detective did with that one.
Within the last couple of weeks.
Okay. All right, anything else? You always have questions, so I'm going
No, I got a
you're a lot better looking than him.
I had a phone call, I came home from church one day, and it said Pizza Hut, and it had the number, and that ain't Pizza Hut's number. So I called Pizza Hut, and the guy said, what are you talking about? I said, it said Pizza Hut 2229, and he said, no, that's not. But I will look into it, because he said,
That is a hot.
and I called that number, and all you get is a busy signal.
Yeah.
So how
See,
are they getting?
That I couldn't answer you. I don't know. In this day and age with technology, there's always something that's
And it's
kind of
always
new.
busy, no matter what you call it, it's gonna be busy.
We've tried to call some back and can't get through. Or it rings and rings and rings and
Yeah.
there's no answer.
What I want to say, it might help you, I get, about once a year, I get a free trip to Hawaii or something.
Wow.
I won expenses for two.
How was it?
And I said, send me the tickets. Thank you. I was looking for it. Thank you. Send me the tickets. And I go, bam.
Yeah, we know those are. If you don't apply to the lottery, how can you win?
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, it's
No, I already won.
the easiest thing to remember.
That's the point. I
Or so
already
they tell
won.
you.
Yeah, but did you get the tickets?
All right, folks,
No.
next month, I'm not sure how this will work now. Is there 4 Mondays next time? If there is, it lands on a holiday, so I don't know what happens. I gotta look at the calendar,
Okay.
whether they'll back it up a week or what they'll do. But I know the Wheelin' Dealin's after that, so that's the 30th of May.
Yeah.
So make sure, and that's just kind of fun and games and craziness where I kind of let my hair down and have some fun and give away lots of prizes, so.
You ain't got
We'll
much
see
hair
you
to
at
let
least,
down.
what's that?
You ain't got much hair to let
Well, that's
down.
true. And it's not that great yet, but, 50 is coming, it's knocking on the door. I can see it in the horizon. I know it, I know. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Everything's different. Need help?
I'll have my, I got it.
It's just like church in here.
Everybody so respect. Time for the sermon yet?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
59.
I know. He'd like that one.
Oh, yeah.
Give him a pulpit.
He's got the gavel.
Yeah.
We're waiting for Verizon to tell us it's tea time. You know, the easiest thing I found is use the packet that Julie sends and then just put it in Adobe so you get a nice,
Search function.
yes. You can just pop everywhere.
I had a hard time.
Gordon did something. Gordon fixed mine and